Hello, my name is Stacy Pennington, and I live in the Vollintine-Evergreen neighborhood in Memphis, Tennessee, which is in the north and central part of the city. Vollintine-Evergreen is a beautiful place full of historic homes, tree-lined streets, and some of the friendliest neighbors you could ever hope to meet. I'm making this video to help inform my neighbors regarding an important decision being made right now that will affect our neighborhood for many years to come. A small group of neighbors has proposed that our Vollintine-Evergreen neighborhood be provided with a historic overlay district that will be overseen by the Memphis Landmarks Commission. I'm continuously running into neighbors that either have no idea that this is going on or do not understand what this means for them. After explaining this rather complicated concept several times, I decided to make this video in order to hopefully shine some light on this issue and make it easier to understand. To begin with, a caveat. I am not an expert on these issues. I'm a board member of the Vollintine-Evergreen Community Association, usually called VECA, which is an all-volunteer organization that is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. The purpose of VECA is to help maintain our neighborhood as a place where people want to live, work, shop, eat, and simply be in Memphis. I've actively participated in the process surrounding this historic overlay district application and picked up some information along the way, information I would like to share with you. I will probably get some things wrong in this video, and I welcome feedback and constructive criticism in the comments section below. My hope is that we can all learn from each other. Also, importantly, I am only speaking for myself as a private citizen. I am not providing this information on behalf of anyone else, including VECA. First of all, it might be helpful to define what we're talking about. Maybe you've seen signs like this in the neighborhood, or you got a letter that looks like this in your mailbox. These are official notices, and the only required official notices regarding this important proposal. The VECA Historic Committee has requested that more than 3,300 homes in the area within the boundaries of VECA be covered by what is essentially an additional type of zoning that would apply to all structures within its boundaries. This type of zoning is called a historic overlay district, and it has rules attached that make up what is and is not allowed in the boundaries of the district, which are spelled out in a guidelines document. All of the other zoning that already existed for Vollintine-Evergreen is still there, and this historic overlay district zoning will sit on top of everything else. Think of it as an additional layer of rules or protection, depending on your view, on top of what we already have. For the rest of this video, I will refer to this historic overlay district by a shorthand term that a lot of people use, a landmarks district. This makes sense because the Memphis Landmarks Commission would be the group to enforce the rules of this zoning overlay. It is important to note that the proposed landmarks district does not involve making the neighborhood a historic district. This is a popular misconception. The Vollintine-Evergreen neighborhood already has several national historic districts within its borders, such as the Vollintine-Evergreen Historic District and the Vollintine-Evergreen North Historic District. The boundaries and status of these individual historic districts will be the same, whether the proposed historic overlay district is finally approved or not. While the proponents of the landmarks district state that it will help preserve the historic status of our national historic districts, this point is very debatable. The guidelines document is at the heart of a landmarks district. It decides what every property owner can and cannot do. It is a public, lengthy document that you are encouraged to read for yourself, but for a short summary of it, you could say that it controls what changes you're allowed to make in the publicly viewable parts of your property, the parts that can be seen from the public street. And yes, if you own a house on a corner, it covers both the front and the public side of your house. In addition, it places specific rules on what type of new construction are allowed. as well as greatly restricting the demolition of properties. For existing homeowners, it is somewhat similar to a neighborhood covenant, except probably with more requirements, rules, and obligations. Well, how did we get here? And what is the status today? The VECA Historic Committee, with some architectural consultants, completed a draft of the guidelines document for the proposed landmarks district toward the beginning of 2020, after having discussions about it for several years. Due to the nature of what it means to have a landmarks district, it is purposefully somewhat difficult to create one. After the guidelines document is completed, a number of different specific steps have to be followed in the correct order to ratify the guidelines and finalize the creation of the historic overlay district so that the guidelines can be legally enforced. In our case, the VECA Historic Committee held several public meetings over Zoom during the summer and fall of 2020 due to the inability to meet in person during the COVID-19 pandemic. After those meetings, the guidelines document was approved by the VECA board in a 12-3 vote before being sent on to its first legal hurdle, approval by the Memphis Landmarks Commission, which would be responsible for upholding its rules. After a month's delay due to a boundary issue, the Memphis Landmarks Commission approved the V&E Landmarks proposal in January 2021, and it moved on to the Memphis and Shelby County Land Use Control Board. In that meeting, another boundary issue cropped up, and the Land Use Control Board sent the proposal back to the Landmarks Commission to potentially add some additional streets to the proposal. Assuming the guidelines are approved by the Memphis Landmarks Commission, and after that, the Land Use Control Board, they will go before the Memphis City Council for approval, which will require 3 separate votes in 3 separate meetings. It is important to note that the only time publicly elected representatives will vote on the landmarks district is in the Memphis City Council. All other groups are either private nonprofits or appointed positions. So what does the proposed landmarks district mean for you? Well, if you live outside of the Vollintine-Evergreen neighborhood in Memphis, not much. But if you own property within the boundaries of the landmarks district, it means that you will have some additional obligations and restrictions. Also, if you're making changes to the publicly viewable part of your property that could potentially violate the guidelines of the landmark district, you will need to file an application for a certificate of appropriateness with the Memphis Landmarks Commission, as well as pay a filing fee, the amount of which will depend upon the type of modification that you are doing. And if you end up doing work without applying for the certificate or paying the fee and are found in violation of the guidelines, you will be required to file an application at that time with the filing fee doubled. Please see the Memphis Landmarks Commission website for more information on all of this. What are some good and bad things about the proposed landmarks district? Well, in the good column, the guidelines potentially protect properties from being significantly modified in any way that can be publicly seen. This can protect the remaining architectural integrity of the neighborhood. The guidelines can help put more roadblocks in front of developers looking to buy a troubled property, demolish it, and build something out of character in the neighborhood in its place. And some would argue that there's some prestige in being one of only a few neighborhoods in Memphis that have this landmarks district designation. There are currently 16 of these districts, and if approved, VECA would be the 17th and would be by far the largest. Like anything, though, there are some bad things that come along with this landmarks district too. You won't find these on the VECA.org website, but these points should be understood. Even if you aren't planning to make changes to your property, this new landmarks district will affect you over time to the value of your home. Some home buyers specifically look for houses that are not covered by covenants or guidelines, so they will have more freedom to fix up their house or put in modern conveniences like satellite dishes and solar panels, just to name a few. Please read the guidelines document, searching for the word shall throughout to get an idea of what is specifically not allowed. And this will happen if the guidelines are approved. Some studies indicate that property values in landmark districts can change after they are put into effect. Of course, every place is different in some way, but in general, it is common to see the most valuable and the least valuable homes increase in value, while the majority of homes in the middle can actually decrease in value due to the loss of flexibility of what can be done with the property. It's also important to note that many nonprofit community housing organizations like Habitat for Humanity will refuse to work in an area with this type of zoning overlay due to the complexity of working through additional rules and regulations that come with the landmark district. Also, landmark districts usually have the effect of keeping the neighborhood much the same as when they were implemented. After all, preserving the look of the neighborhood is often why they're put in place in the first place. However, this freezing of everything in place can also freeze blighted properties in place too. Since anyone who wants to invest in a blighted property will need to abide by the new regulations, individuals looking to purchase a blighted home and fix it up, whether to live in, to rent out, or to flip to someone else looking to do those things, they'll often look to do this in areas without landmarks protection. If the landmarks district passes, don't expect the pace of improvement of blighted properties in the neighborhood to pick up. Another potential concern for the Vollintine-Evergreen Landmarks District has to do with its sheer size and the number of different sub-neighborhoods involved. The guidelines document calls them neighborhood character areas and discusses how and when they came to be, the result of which is a pretty wide array of housing stock in our neighborhood, especially when compared to other neighborhoods that have landmark districts in Memphis. This fact could make it difficult to fairly and equitably hold all homeowners accountable for the guidelines, which will likely be interpreted differently in different parts of the neighborhood. There's a lot more that could be said about the proposed Vollintine-Evergreen Landmarks districts, both for and against, but I hope the information in this video has been helpful in explaining what this historic overlay district is and why it is important that all Vollintine-Evergreen property owners and neighbors be aware that this is happening right now. If you're interested in having a say about this proposed landmarks district, please pay attention to the discussion happening on the social media site Nextdoor and watch for updates on the VECA.org website. While the content on the VECA website is not neutral in this subject, after all, the VECA Historic Committee is who is pushing the proposed guidelines for the creation of the landmarks district. The website does contain information about who to contact and when to let the Memphis Landmarks Commission, the Land Use Control Board, and the City Council know your thoughts on the matter. Vollintine-Evergreen residents, the current landmarking district process we are going through is very important. It is difficult to put these guidelines in place, and it will be difficult to change them once they are in place. This is by design. If you have specific, serious misgivings about the current proposed guidelines like I do, the time to act and the time to have your voice heard is now. Personally, I think VECA can enjoy landmarks protection, but the entire neighborhood's voice has not been adequately heard on this matter. And I oppose the current guidelines proposal until we're out of the pandemic and are able to get together and create a guidelines document that all of us can agree on. But regardless of which side of the debate you come down on, please make your voice heard and do not remain silent. Thank you for watching this video and learning about the proposed landmarks district.